watched. It was the worst band I've ever seen or heard in my life, but I was not going to move because the seats were great. Then the next band came on, and it was his dad's band. And he was singing directly to me the whole set.
Do you think he saw you and was singing directly to you, or that he just was looking in your direction?
At that time, I thought his girlfriend or wife or somebody was behind me, but he told me, he said he saw me when I walked in, and he looked at his bandmates, Sean and Bobby at the time, but maybe even Mason, said, "See that woman right there? I'm going to marry her."
Really?
And
you hear those stories, but I don't really know anybody that ever happened to.
So that's exactly what they all said, and they backed him up on it, and this is in 1996.
Now, what did you think of his music after hearing that lousy band? Were they great?
The whole entire band had such showmanship and such stage presence. When they came out, literally, that voice was so angelic and powerful. I literally thought his wife or girlfriend, because people, I kept turning around like, why is he staring at me? But then people came up to me saying, oh, he likes you. It's very spiritual. It was like a huge connection because I felt like we were locked, but I could feel I empathed.
And you were with your soon-to-be ex-husband?
Well, he was running off somewhere else at that time, thank God.
Would you say that it was love at first sound when you heard that voice?
Love at first sight.
Oh,
Because
really?
it was more of a...
So as soon as you saw him and then heard that voice, you were hooked?
Yeah, definitely. It was so spiritual. I can't even explain it.
Well, you'll explain it when we come back.
Sounds good.
Hey, you guys, it's Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Guess what? The only thing we can get down here in the sewer is Geektainment Weekly on New Radio Media. Turtle Power!
At Murray's Part City, we're known for offering customer service you won't get in any chain store or online. But don't take it from me, just listen to what our customers have to say.
The employees at Murray's are knowledgeable, courteous.
They make you feel like you're at home.
Pick up a can of Seafoam Fuel System treatment for only $6.99 or a 5-quart container of Mobil 1 motor oil for just $28.95. Murray's Part City and Pontiac Trail at Maple Road in Walled Lake.
We've got the parts you need when you need them.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says there was a substantial drop in diabetes deaths in the decade leading up to 2006, especially for deaths resulting from heart disease or stroke that's attributed to diabetes. American adults with diabetes are still more likely to die younger than those who do not have the condition, but the gap is getting smaller. The findings come after researchers looked at data from 1997 to 2004, covering nearly 250,000 adults. The mortality rate may be falling for some very simple but sound reasons. People with diabetes were found to be less likely to smoke and more likely to be physically active than they were in the past. And there also have been some improvements in controlling blood pressure and cholesterol levels. But sadly, the news is not all good though, as the CDC also says that the prevalence of diabetes is likely to rise in the future, largely due to poor lifestyle choices and obesity. With another prescription for your health, I'm Dr. Jim Bragman.
It starts with now that we hear that voice, it's probably bringing back a lot of memories for you. So tell us what happened after you guys met. Did you talk to him after the show that night?
And I also want to go back for a second because it did bring back a memory. It was that connection when you can look in someone's eyes and they're actually singing every word to you. It really was a spiritual connection. I was really taken back by that. And he's not a type of guy at that time that I would even be attracted to. He had these little skinny dreadlocks all in his hair, and he was really linky with tattoos. I do like the tall, tattooed, and I always loved reggae, but he just wasn't the normal type I would date. So anyways, the next band that came on, they got off, I stayed there, and the next band that came on, the Roadies, I ran a lot of apartments and real estate and worked with a home builder. So one of my employees, her boyfriend was in a band and said, oh, there's Amy's boss. Let's bring her backstage. So I went backstage and there they were. And the guys were telling me that, they had interest in a record deal. and all this was going on, and Chester was sitting there, and went and talked to him, and he was sick. He was sick with like 103 temperature. He's blind as a bat without his glasses, and I didn't know that, and he said, I could see you perfectly. And we just started talking, but then the bouncers came because he wasn't 21, and they were rushing him out. And they were rushing him out right before we could exchange phone numbers, and we were really connecting. And I thought, oh, well, that's sad. Bye.
You probably didn't think you'd ever see him again, right?
Never thought in a million years. The band had their CDs, and they said, here, would you like a CD? And I said, no, I support local bands. And then here comes the ex-husband drunk and all his friends. So I made all of them buy CDs. So I think they were like $5 a piece. And on the back of the CD had their manager's phone number the whole time. However, I was so in a daze of it all, no pun intended. The band was called Great A's. But I went to real estate in the office the next day to work, and everyone was like, how was the concert, and how did Anthony do? Because they were very concerned with him going with me. And I said, oh, it was great, but something really incredible happened to the singer from this amazing band who I had no idea at the time. And when I said the name, they're like, they're the #1 local band in all of Arizona. And I said, oh, well, that's cool, but he sang to me the whole time. How am I ever going to see this guy again? I have to see him again. And they said, look him up for sale by owner in real estate. We do it all the time. So here, and I was like, that's crazy. I look like a stalker. But they really talked me into it. And in the phone book. When's the last time we've looked at a phone book? I looked up every Bennington, and everyone stopped working. And they made me call every
one of them till you found him.
And I got his sister, who recently was married, Renee, and she went by Brudman. And now she just, for some reason, felt something, I don't know. She goes, yes, that's my brother. And I said, I know this is going to sound crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not a stalker. I'm sure he meets a ton of people. I didn't know what a #1 local band was it that big. I mean, I grew up with Pennywise. I grew up with Slash. I grew up with, suicidal tendencies. I don't know. They were all just my friends, or that's what they did. I never looked at it as #1.
So you did eventually, obviously, hook up with him.
Well, I left my phone number, and I said, if he remembers me, have him call me, but you'll never hear from me again because I don't want to be that person.
So obviously he called you.
The next day.
So then you got married, and at the time he already had 2 sons, correct? From a previous relationship, he had one, and then he adopted her son?
Well, no, we didn't even know at that time. So we got together. 2 months later, we were living together. 9 months later, we were married. But right prior to us getting married, we found out that he was potentially a father to a girlfriend from high school's son. But we didn't get a DNA test at that time. We offered, but everyone was broke, and we wanted to split it. She didn't have the money, and we weren't going to pay for the whole thing at the time because we couldn't afford it either. We thought, well, if he is the father, we'll reimburse her and we'll take it from there. But years later happened, and fame happened. We were married for about 4.5 years, and 6 years before Linkin Park even really hit. And then, of course, when things like that happen, she came forward, and we're so grateful she did, because he's got a beautiful son, Jamie, who's my son's brother. And they adopted Isaiah, his brother, as well. So he's got 2 older siblings now from her, and her and I get along just fine.
Well, that's all beautiful. So far we're on a real nice roll here. So you've got a new marriage, and everything's going smooth. And
it wasn't smooth at first.
It was not? Because I remember when you brought him one day to Cafe Roma, right? When you were, I don't know if you'd married him yet, or we were about to marry him. Remember? We all went to lunch.
I thought you were talking about the kids and all of us baby mamas getting along. That takes time.
Oh, that's a whole other issue. No, I'm talking about when you brought Chester to lunch with me.
We were.
And I think you were just about to get married then. And he was so adorable and so crazy about you.
Oh, he's definitely one of my soulmates. I believe we have multiple.
And then I remember it was probably maybe 2001 or 2. When did they become, after you moved to L.A. and he met the guys from Agora Hills, then he became the lead singer for Linkin Park, but were they already in existence when he joined them?
They were called Zero at the time. However, we were still in Arizona, so he had recently left Gray Days and was starting to do an electronic band with Coney, a friend of his. And I stayed in touch with Scott Harrington and different attorneys and people in the industry to keep his name and voice relevant. And Scott Harrington would send us music, or people would send us music, and we got this music in Arizona. And I said, oh, this is it. And it was his birthday, and we just got back from Mexico, and we put him in the studio, and we played it for Jeff Blue and Scott Harrington over the phone while we were still living in Arizona. And they said, well, we're going to FedEx, can you FedEx the music out? And we said, no, we're going to fly him out with the music. And they were Zero, and they all grew up together, and as fate had it, he joined the band, and then it became Hybrid Theory, and then it became Linkin Park.
Hybrid Theory, the album itself, was one of my favorites. I mean, it's one of everybody's favorites, right, Ashley? Ashley's our engineer, just going, I love it.
It's mine too.
Wasn't
I heard
that?
it.
I mean, that was a wonderful. I mean, I think it sold like 5 million copies or something. It was extremely popular.
Now, I don't even think you could keep count. It's like,
yeah, it's probably, especially now after what happened, but
even before.
It's just an incredible album. It's one of those.
Thank you.
You know, every group has a certain album that's like Michael Jackson's Thriller or Carole King's Tapestry. There's always that one, and I think that was their best. They were their best then. Weren't they great? I mean,
it
wow.
was just so new. And I think all of them are so talented that I think they continue to do such great things and make great music and success.
So now we have Draven. Little Draven came about in what? 2002. So my little Draven over here, my little grandson. How fun was it for you growing up with a rock star dad?
I mean, I didn't think about it too much. Like, it's just my dad. So, I mean, I didn't like going to the concerts because, like, I wouldn't spend time with him. He'd be up on stage all the time, and I don't know, just do something in the back. And then,
yeah,
so, like,
I don't think people realize that the kids of these rock stars, they're up on the stage getting screamed at and yelled at and things thrown at them, like good things, panties and money or whatever. And you're in the back dressing room probably playing games or being on your little game board thing, So you didn't see a lot of the concerts? Like, you didn't go out in front and sit in the audience?
I mean, not until, like, I was a little older, and, like, but, I didn't remember him. But, no, I didn't really think about it too much. Just, like, it was just his job.
Well, how much fun was it going to Ozfest and all those things? I mean, you went on tour a lot, you and your mom. Wasn't it fun being on tour buses and going from city to city and meeting all these other famous rock and roll people? Did that mean anything to you at the time, or it was just your parents' friends?
Just parents' friends. It didn't really mean anything.
He was so little, so young to even probably remember.
So you probably don't even remember. You were only 4 years old when your dad sang with Paul McCartney at the Grammys. Wasn't that one of the most special moments? I mean, when they sang Yesterday together, I mean, I was like sobbing because I just couldn't believe how beautiful their voices were together. And
he loved the Beatles so much.
Oh, but that was a special moment. I will never forget that. Have you ever watched it, Draven? Have you ever seen a YouTube of that?
No, I think I should. I should look it up.
You should. It was an incredible moment. And they won so many awards. And for a while there, didn't he take a little break and sing with the Stone Temple Pilots?
He did.
And when was that? What year was that?
That was not too long ago, but I love the guys. I love Stone Temple Pilots, but Scott, I love Scott. So I was very upset. We got in a fight about that. So I said, listen, Chester, you can't take Scott's place, and he could never take your place. And we had words over that one. But you know what? Mary did tell me. Mary Weiland is a very good friend of mine, and I love her very much. That's Scott's ex-wife. And she said, Scott was really happy that it was Chester. And he told her that while he was alive. He's no longer with us. So I'm very grateful to hear that now.
Now, your marriage broke up after what, about 9 years, huh? 8, 9 years?
We were together for a little over 10, but I served him with divorce papers shortly after 9 years, 3 months, 9 years, 4 months.
What was the biggest factor? Would you have to say it was the